Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Shlakaya Chakshurna Samyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vichitanam Novistam Sabitam Yena Prasthare Vayavakadamayam Radha Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sarvajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sahiva Advaitam Savadutam Parijana Smetham Vishnu Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Namo Vishnu Gadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Devasesha Sanyavadi Prastichade Shatharine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gauravani Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Paturubhyascha Vipasindubhyebhya Chitanam Bhavanebhyo Vishnudevyo Namo Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Let's fill in the gap. Is it on the board? Okay. Today, dear devotees, is a very auspicious day. Most of you are aware what is the day. Some of you who are visiting us or new to Krishna conscious movement. Today is the first day of Chaturmasya, the 4-month period, which is another topic which we won't delve into. It's a very auspicious time for spiritual life. It's also the first day, Purnima, full moon. It's known as Guru Purnima. It's the day when when one worships Vyasadeva, or the representative of Vyasadeva. It's very common. Not so much amongst Gaudiya Vaishnavas necessarily, especially amongst the impersonal or the Mayavad path, but we also honor that. And specifically, today is the Tirobhav. Tirobhav means the disappearance day of Srila Sanatana Gosvami, the anniversary of that disappearance. He departed on our calendar 1488, I think, or 1588. Quite a long time ago. 15 or 14, I can't remember. One or the other. And it's also today the anniversary, the 5th anniversary of the departure of His Holiness Bhakti Chru Maharaj. In 2020, he left the world. 5 years ago now. Time flies. Many devotees have gathered at the Bhaktivedanta Manor today. He has hundreds of disciples, I think, in this country. Many of them have gathered at the manor today to remember him, to honor him on this day. But primarily what we'll try to do today is to try to remember and associate with Sanatana Gosvami. And we'll start by singing 2 verses from the Sat Goswami Iskcon, famous Ashtakam glorifying the 6 Goswamis. I hope I haven't sung it for a while. I hope I can remember it. Krishna Kirtana Kannanatana Paro Premam Mitam Manidi Krishna Kirtana Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Shri Chaitanya Vipavaro Bhuvaro. How does it go? Pavako Shri Chaitanya Vipavaro Bhuvaro Bharavahankarako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujaga Shri Jiva Gopako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujaga Shri Jiva. This is the easy one. Shastra Vicharanayaka Nippano Sadharma Samstapako Shastra Vicharanayaka Nippano Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakasana Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Lokanam Hitakarina Tribhuvane Manyo Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujaga Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujaga Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujaga Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujaga Shri Jiva Gopalako. Hey, Shri Sat Goswami Astakam ki Shri Sanatana Goswami Kiraba Mahotsav ki jai. You tired? You getting tired? Tired. So, with the permission of Mathura Prabhu, Mathura? Is your name Mathura?
Yes, sir.
Has given me permission to hand over the Srimad Bhagavatam verse till tomorrow, even without the permission of Dayamore. I think he's giving class tomorrow, so I have to live with it. He's not here right now, so he has only himself to blame. Hare Krishna. And we're going to...
I just like laying down. I'm a laying down person.
You're a laid-back person?
It's just the music. When you play it, and I lay down and relax,
Yeah.
it works better for me.
Well, amazing.
Jumping around, it drives me out the wall. It just makes me feel relaxed.
That's good. Just relax.
Yeah.
And just let's
Thanks.
move on and let's
relaxing.
hear about Sanatana Goswami today. We can take the Bhagavatam, I think. Bhagavatam, by the way, was the most dear script to Sanatana Goswami. Even as a child, he had a dream about a Brahmin coming and delivering him Bhagavatam. And he woke up, he was very... Sometimes you have dreams, I don't know if you do, dreams about distributing books, and you're doing really well on book distribution, then you wake up, you know. It's very disappointing. You just thought you sold, you know, huge numbers of books, and you wake up and you realize nothing happened. So he was disappointed when he woke up, but then that very day it so happened that a Brahmin did come and gifted him a Srimad Bhagavatam. So all of his life, the Srimad Bhagavatam was his life and soul. So we'll try to speak a few words. Usually on these occasions, if we do speak something, some philosophy, of course, teaching is there, but oftentimes the history of Sanatana Goswami is discussed. His life's story. We're not going to go there today. It's very much, it will come up inevitably in the course of our little effort to discuss a little bit about the glories of Sanatana Goswami. Like many of the associates, pretty much all of the associates of Lord Chaitanya, they're known as parishads. They are eternal associates of the Lord. They're not conditioned souls. They're not sadhakas. We're known as sadhakas. What is a sadhaka? Practicing. We're trying to practice to achieve a goal. They may appear in sadhaka rupa, or forms of apparent sadhakas or practitioners, but they're not. They only appear like this in order to give example to others to follow. Show us as acharya, he shows by example. These are the real acharyas. They're not conditioned souls. They are eternal associates of the Lord who appear in this world to help the conditioned souls to attain spiritual perfection. So he appeared in this way along with his brothers and many other associates of Lord Chaitanya. And we will now hear something. I don't know where we'll start. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I think we'll start in order of the books. It's not necessarily order of the subject, because I haven't got time to sort that out. Madhya Lila 1, Madhya Lila, yeah, this would be the order. So, to hear about these great personalities, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, particularly to hear about Rupa, Sanatana, Haridas. They were associates, by the way. Haridas Thakur and Rupa and Sanatana had a relationship which started early on, even before they took shelter of Lord Chaitanya fully. Haridas Thakur was instrumental in their meeting with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And later on, when they were in Jagannath Puri, Haridas Thakur was staying in Puri. When Rupa and Sanatana would come there, they would stay with him also. So these three personalities were very confidential with each other. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when we hear about them, their lives, their teachings, their pastimes, and so on, one experiences great happiness, satisfaction, and one can become very courageous in one's service and very determined in the execution of one's devotional practices. It's by association that we gain strength. Now, before we go on, where's that orange bag? Can you take the computer out, please? I might forget otherwise. I promised yesterday to read a letter which through one of my, masters. He sent it to me. And this is from a lady who came here yesterday. Most of you do not know her. She lives in southeast London, and she wrote this letter to one of my, students, whatever you call it. And her name is Katie Castle. She wrote like this. This is just to show the power of association. And even if it's not not physical in terms of the person being present in their, sadhaka rupa, whatever form they have, but even in their absence of their actual personal presence, how powerful their teachings, their memory of them is very powerful. My name is Katie Castle. I'm 48 years old, unmarried, live alone. I work full-time as a Metropolitan Police detective. Works as a detective in the police. I've just been interested in Hare Krishna since a chance visit to Bhaktivedanta Manor last June, 1 year ago exactly. My friend and I attended as I wanted to see the George Harrison Garden. There's another example of how a devotee blessed, or a personality blessed by a pure devotee can have so much potency to influence people to come to Krishna consciousness. She went there simply to see the garden of George Harrison. He had no interest in, never heard of Krishna consciousness, basically. But she heard that there was a garden at the Bhaktivedanta Manor. I didn't know anything about Iskcon at all. I attended a tour. They have tours of the manor. I attended a tour and we went into Prabhupada's room. I immediately felt at peace and wanted to know who this man was. You see Srila Prabhupada's Murti, and deity, whatever people call, form of Srila Prabhupada is there in the room. So she saw that form, and there was something about it which just was like she's seen nothing else like it in her life. I can't really explain the feeling, but I didn't walk out of there the same person. I was a complete atheist up to that moment. Complete atheist. It had such an effect on me, I had to know more. She wanted to know more about this person. It had such an effect. He was a complete atheist, had no interest in God or belief in God. Since then, I've been attending, because there's a lot more to it, obviously. I've been attending a mentorship since last year with Radha and Kishori. I'll go to the manor at least every 2 or 3 weeks. I volunteer with Krishna Wisdom and help with their events. I chant 16 rounds daily. I was already a vegan and a teetotaler, so I had nothing to give up there. I attend my local Sangha in Rochester, read Prabhupada's books, listen to lectures and watch Mangalarti every morning at the manor. I have lots of devotee friends and try to have as much association as possible. Hare Krishna. This goes to show the effect of Srila Prabhupada's association. Even though he physically, Sanatana Gosvami left this planet hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but just by hearing about him we can also be affected by seeing his picture and so on. So what to speak? Srila Prabhupada, who this whole movement is a manifestation of his loving devotion, and his presence at the manor is very powerful. You can feel it. Everyone has that experience. When they enter into his room particularly, how powerful it is. And this lady's life changed. I mean, on the spot. On the spot. It wasn't like, it was there and then she took up Krishna consciousness. Okay, so we're going to Sanatana. I just promised I would read that when I talked to her yesterday. So here we are. We're going to find out. Now, there's different aspects we could look at. We could look at the teachings of Sanatana Goswami, which he received from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As you know, he met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in what we now know as Benares, Varanasi, Kashi. And there Lord Chaitanya instructed Sanatana for a long time, several months. And a very large section of this Chaitanya Charitamrita is dedicated to those teachings. From those teachings, Sanatana Goswami, of course, compiled many literatures to guide the Vaishnavas. We'll hear more about that later on. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we'll just start a little bit of history to begin with, and that's the two brothers. Their names were Amara Dev and Santosh. Had taken, you could say, employment, engaged, at that time in Bengal where they were residing. There was a Muslim government. Nawab Hussain was the king of Bengal, and prior to his ascending to the throne, so to speak, Santosh had been a very important member of administration. He was a Brahmin by birth, but very intelligent, and the previous administration employed him what we now call like a prime minister, basically managing the country on behalf of the king. So he was like the chief minister in the government of Bengal. His younger brother Rupa was his assistant, deputy, and also treasurer. So these two brothers, together with the other family members, Anupam and others, they were primary administrators. So when Nawab Hussain ascended, he continued to engage them in this way, and he changed their names. As you may be aware, and Sanatana became, do you remember his name? Sakar Malik. Rupa Goswami? Yabikas. They had Muslim names because they were working for a Muslim government. The situation was, always up and down in this regards. But there was a lot of working together and trying to let's say, create whatever the purpose of the kingdom was between Hindus and Muslims, and it wasn't always rivalry or hatred. So they were working mainly to protect the Hindus of Bengal at the time. They knew if they didn't work in that position, then the Hindus would be in an even more difficult situation. So they took up those posts, and they were residing in Bengal, well, it's now East Bengal, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already left Bengal and gone to Jagannath Puri. So he desired to visit Vrindavan, so he headed off towards Vrindavan. Intention to reach, but he didn't reach Vrindavan, but he went to Bengal on his way, and there his intention was to meet these two brothers, in a place called Ramkeli, which was where they were residing. They were residing there, although they were working for the Muslim government, and they were dressed like Muslims, and they were considered by the strict Hindus, the caste system, to be more or less converted to Islam. So what they were in their hearts of hearts, they were, of course, completely absorbed in pure devotional service. They created in their home like a Gupta Vrindavan, a hidden Vrindavan. You sometimes see, if you go to Govardhan Eco Village in Maharashtra, in other places, you'll see like a replica of Vrindavan. How many of you have been to the Govardhan Eco Village in Maharashtra? Several of you. It's an amazing environmental situation there. You can't help but remember Krishna and Vrindavan. So they created that in there. They were very rich. They were super rich. And obviously being in the big positions. So they created a Vrindavan like in their own property. And they were regularly here in Bhagavatam. Sanatana Gosvami, when he was young, was a student of one great devotee of the Lord, a famous devotee, I think he was related to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Vidyavichaspati, a very famous scholar in Bengal, probably the most famous devotee scholar. So he was a student, Sanatana was a student of Vidyavichaspati. And not that you need to be a student in one sense, his eternal associates don't need, but they do it anyway to show by example and to relish the situation also. So they were living there. Lord Chaitanya came past near Ramkeli. And so we'll take it up from there. Where should we start? Here. Lord Chaitanya was not alone. Nityananda and Haridas were with him. And they told Lord Chaitanya that these two persons, then Sakar Malik and Dabyakas, had come to see him. They heard, these two brothers, they heard that Lord Chaitanya was nearby. So in the dead of night, they kind of left so that no one would see them. And they went to where Lord Chaitanya was located. In great humility, both brothers took bunches of straw between their teeth, and each binding a cloth around his neck, they fell down like rods before the Lord. In Bengal and other parts of India, this is considered to be you can say it's external, but it's symptomatic of the humility which is required to actually approach Krishna consciousness. Straw in the mouth and the entire cloth around the neck, and falling down, Udandavats, prostrate before the Lord. Upon seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two brothers were overwhelmed with joy, and out of humility they began to cry. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them to get up and assured them of all good fortune. The two brothers got up, and again, taking straw between their teeth, they humbly offered their prayers with folded hands. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most merciful Savior of the fallen souls. Jai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Dayamaya Patita Pavana Jaya Jaya Mahashaya. Sir, he said next, we belong to the lowest class of men, and our associates in employment are all of the lowest type. Therefore we cannot introduce ourselves to you. We feel very much ashamed standing here before you. Dear Lord, let us inform you that no one is more sinful than us, nor is there any offender like us. Even if we wanted to mention our sinful activities, we would immediately become ashamed, and what to speak of giving them up. The two brothers submitted. Dear Lord, you have incarnated to deliver the fallen souls. You should consider that in this world there is none so fallen as us. You have delivered the two brothers Jagai and Madai, but to deliver them you did not have to exert yourself very much. The brothers Jagai and Madai belonged to the Brahmin caste, and their residence was in the holy place of Navadvip. They never served low-class persons, nor were they instruments to abominable activity. Jagaya and Madai had but one fault. They were addicted to sinful activity. However, volumes of sinful activity can be burned to ashes simply by a dim reflection of the chanting of your holy names. Jagaya and Madai uttered your holy name by way of blaspheming you. Fortunately, the holy name became the cause of their deliverance. We too are millions and millions of times inferior to Jagaya and Madai. We are more degraded, fallen, and sinful than they. Actually, we belong to the caste of meat-eaters because we are servants of meat-eaters. Indeed, our activities are exactly like those of the meat-eaters. Because we always associate with such people, we are inimical toward the cows and the Brahmins. The two brothers Sakar Malik and Dabyakas very humbly submitted that due to their abominable activities they were now bound by the neck and hands and had been thrown into a ditch filled with abominably stool-like objects of material sense enjoyment. This is how they felt. Physically speaking, it wasn't. But how they actually felt about themselves. They were in such a horrible position. No one within the three worlds is sufficiently powerful to deliver us. You are the only savior of the fallen souls. Therefore there is no one but you. If you simply deliver us by your transcendental strength, then certainly your name will be known as Patita Pavan, the savior of the fallen souls. Let us speak one word that is very true. Plainly hear us, O merciful one. There is no other object of mercy within the three worlds but us. We are the most fallen. Therefore, by showing us your mercy is most successful. Let the power of your mercy be exhibited throughout the entire universe. Let us submit one piece of information before you, dear Lord. It is not at all false, but is full of meaning. It is this. If you are not merciful upon us, then it will be very, very difficult to find more suitable candidates for your mercy. We are very depressed at being unfit candidates for your mercy. Yet since we have heard of your transcendental qualities, we are very much attracted to you. Indeed, we are like a dwarf who wants to capture the moon. Although we are completely unfit, a desire to receive your mercy is awakening within our minds. By serving you constantly, one is free from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a fitting master? A question. What do we learn from this? Anything? Are they teaching us anything, or are they just, just sorry for them, their poor fallen souls, worse than Jagaya and Madai? 3 hands have gone up. Okay. Number. What is that? With all humility. Straw in the mouth. Where are your straws? The only straws we have are when we drink the juice. Huh? That's the straw in our mouth. We want to enjoy. It's figuratively, it doesn't have to be literally, but figuratively, yes. That's symbolic of a straw in the mouth. Very humble position, lower than a straw on the street. With great humility. Anything else? Simplistic. That's a big topic, but in simple, one-word answer with great humility, whatever that is. Like a topic in itself. Another one? Yes.
I was going to say humility because although they were very qualified materially, they had a lot of money and a high position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could say maybe it's a little easier if we're poverty-stricken. If we're living in the street, we're poverty-stricken. Help me, save me, I'm most fallen. But are they most fallen? Now, in the eyes of the general people, they are not the most fallen. Maybe in the eyes of some caste Brahmins. But they're Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, super qualified in terms of material eligibility. They were scholars, they knew so many languages, experts at so many things. But they considered all that and of course they were serving under the Muslim kings. And they considered themselves fallen from that point of view. But they were very, very qualified persons, so they were showing us no matter what our position in this world is, that this pride, pride of knowledge, pride of wealth, pride of beauty, whatever we're proud of, something or another, we have to let go. What else? Anything else?
Seeing good in others. They were seeing Jagai as better because they are.
Well, that's a nice point, isn't it? They were seeing the good in Jagai Madai. Isn't that nice? Yeah, amazing. Jagai and Madai are considered to be the most sinful people in the whole district of Navadvip. But they're seeing good. They're far better than we are. You know, they didn't serve, meat eaters, low class persons, etc. We've degraded like this, and so on. Yeah, that's a nice point. What else? Anything else? Huh? Something there? Radha? Good morning. Good to see you, Guru. I hope we didn't make a mess of your room. Did I leave a sock behind?
I didn't see it.
No, okay. Wait. Maybe it's hidden somewhere in the back. Okay, no problem. Pardon?
It was in pristine condition.
Is that's what you learned from this class down here?
Well, I was thinking it shows a certain, that they're fixed in their eternal identity.
They're fixed in their eternal identity.
There's a certain natural spiritual qualities, humility, sobriety, whereas when we're in positions, speaking for myself, we can tend to fall into illusion and think I'm this and that, but they're showing us the gold standard for how the body to think, feel, behave.
In the last verse we see that's there, isn't it? When shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant? By serving you constantly is another thing. By serving you constantly, they say. One is free from all material desires. Is completely pacified. Maybe there's a few other things to learn there. Yeah, Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is? BP. What is that? Patita Pavana. Liver of the most fallen souls. If we have this pride in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, well, he'll deal with us in a different way, but you won't get that same mercy, you could say. Everyone's very humble, like they are, and Lord Chaitanya's Petit Pavan delivers such personalities. We could go on and on and on, but the time's almost over and we haven't started hardly. What to do? They showed great humility. Through different devotees, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed or engaged them in certain ways to demonstrate necessary qualities of devotion. And we see through Haridas Thakur. What quality is prominent in Haridas Thakur? Tolerance. What quality is prominent in Ramananda Roy? Pardon? You probably got it, I just couldn't hear you.
Sense control.
Sense control, indeed. Of course, they all demonstrate these qualities, no doubt, all of them, but particularly no one but Ramananda Roy, completely undisturbed. He said he conquered Kandarpa or Kamadeva. No, totally disinterested in any mundane sense enjoyment, sex life, everything. Disinterested. How to become free of that powerful bondage which we all have in this material world to sense enjoyment. And through different devotees, steadiness, through Damodar Pandit and so on. And through Sanatana Goswami, humility. Personification of humility. And the humility is a big topic, and different persons from different positions will see it differently, but in its real essence, it's total dependence and total helpless, surrendered dependence upon the Lord. Not seeing any way we can protect ourselves, although we may endeavor. No one can protect us except for the Lord. And then Lord Chaitanya then goes on, explaining why he came there, and that birth after birth, you are my eternal servants. The other factor of these eternal servants of the Lord is that they don't just come necessarily once. We get this interesting phenomena that from the material perspective we tend to judge people according to their particular material body. But they appear, these eternal associates appear along with the Lord in all of his incarnations whenever required. And they may take different forms according to the need. These are eternal pastimes, Lord Chaitanya, but they also appear in other ways. And even in the form of Sanatana Goswami, is described in Gorganadesh Dipika, Kavikarna Purna's description there of the various associates of Lord Chaitanya, who is Sanatana Goswami and Krishna Lila. It's not that the persons in Krishna Lila give up that position and become something else. Usually they expand into those situations. In this case, it's not exactly an expansion. These two forms exist eternally, coexisting in Gaur Lila and Krishna Lila. So in Krishna Lila, who is Sanatana Goswami? Sometimes known as Lavanga Manjari, and sometimes known as Rati Manjari. Whatever that means, these are inconceivable factors. Two Manjaris. And this, to the material point of view, because we identify with the body, we can't understand these things. It's inconceivable. And it's not only that, but Kavikarna Pura describes it in the form of Sanatana Goswami. Amongst the Kumaras, there's one Kumara known as Sanat Kumar. He also entered into the form of Sanatana Goswami. Super scholastic. So, why? It's to the various pastimes the Lord is displaying. Different personalities appear there to assist the Lord. And just like you may associate with someone, you may work together on something, you may, have questions and answers together, many different things like that. The different personalities may enter into the Lord's pastimes in different ways according to the Lord's will. But it's not possible for us to kind of grasp how 3, 4, 5 personalities appear in one person. It's not schizophrenic or anything like that. Not at all. It's transcendental, totally transcendental spiritual beings. And you could see it on the subtle platform. You could say materially we might be able to analyze or understand a little bit on the subtle platform. Why not? They're coming to associate with Sanatana Goswami. In the case of Lord Haridas Thakur has so many personalities are supposed to be Haridas Thakur. And so on, whether they're coming to associate with him or whether they're expansions of him, again entering into their original forms. There's so many different angles of looking at it. But Sanatana Goswami is one of those eternal associates. Now we're going to look a little bit into his humility, which is the key factor, you could say, of his relationship with Lord Chaitanya. Rupa and Sanatana Goswami were objects of love and honor for all the great stalwart devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If someone returned to his country after seeing Vrindavan, the associates of the Lord would ask him questions. They would ask those returning from Vrindavan, how are Rupa and Sanatana doing in Vrindavan? What are their activities in the renounced order? How do they manage to eat these were the questions they asked. Sometimes the Buddhas ask similar questions. How is so-and-so? How is his health? What is he doing? You know, maybe not. Maybe what is his diet? The Lord's associates would also ask, how is it that Rupa and Sanatana are engaging in devotional service 24 hours daily? At that time, the person who had returned from Vrindavan would praise Rupa and Sanatana. The brothers actually have no fixed residence. They reside beneath trees, one night under one tree, the next night under another. Rupa and Sanatana beg a little food from the houses of Brahmins, giving up all kinds of material enjoyment. They take only some dry bread and fried chickpeas. They carry only water pots and they wear torn quilts. They always chant the holy names of Krishna and discuss his pastimes in great jubilation. They also dance. They engage almost 24 hours daily in rendering service to the Lord. They usually sleep only an hour and a half, and sometimes when they continually chant the Lord's holy name, they do not sleep at all. Wonderful. How Sanatana Goswami, as you know, he was worshipping, he established the worship of Madha Mohan. The deities of Madha Mohan in Vrindavan are not in Vrindavan, they're in Jaipur now, but in Karoli, they moved from Jaipur to Karoli. But they're not in Vrindavan. And there's a particular expansive form of those deities in Vrindavan, but that temple is the place where Sanatana Goswami established the worship of Madha Mohan. The temple was constructed by a rich merchant, another story. But Sanatana Goswami obtained those deities. They were originally worshipped, or Krishna was originally worshipped by Vaitacharya, and he attained that deity on his, when he would go on this door to door, sometimes he would go door to door, Madhukari, preaching, but also receiving alms. So that Madha Gopal came to, there are many different stories in different texts describing how that happened. We won't mention any of them because they are all different, but they're all ending up with the same result. That Madha Gopal, Madha Mohan, he was said to be, anyway, it's another story. But he became, Sanatana Goswami named him Madha Mohan. So he became Madha Mohan, and he was worshipped by Sanatana Goswami in Vrindavan. And Sanatana Goswami was all he had was chickpeas and dry chapatis. And he said, if you want to come and be with me, he told the deity, I can't offer you anything. I practically don't eat anything. What are you going to eat? You know, where are you going to live? He said, wherever you live, I'll live. Whatever you eat, I'll eat. So Madha Gopal went with Sanatana. And daily he would just give him a chapati, some chapatis, dry chapatis, not even salt. Not even salt. Just dry chapatis. And one day he said, please, can you at least give me some salt? He said, wait a minute. Today you're asking for salt, tomorrow you'll be asking for rasgullas. Be satisfied with what you've got. The brahmachari life. Brahmacharis are satisfied with whatever they've got. They don't hanker for other things, they're satisfied. So like that he was worshipping his deity. Something said in a tree. So it does describe that he actually made a beautiful arrangement of like a little forest arrangement with leaves and branches and something. Water made of natural greenery for the deity. But that way he was worshipping his deity, and different things took place there. Very simple. And that great merchant came, and there's several stories there. Sanatana Goswami was living very, very simply. One poor, very poor worshipper of Lord Shiva. He was praying to Lord Shiva for wealth. And Lord Shiva, unknown to him, appeared to him and told him to go to Sanatana Goswami and to get wealth. So he went to see Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana said, what can I give? I have nothing. No wealth. I have no wealth. I have nothing to give you. He was living like a poverty-stricken beggar. So the man went away. What is this? And then Sanatana called him back and said, you want something? Okay. I do have one thing. If you go over in the garbage can, in the rubbish tip, you'll find a touchstone. He went over there, and sure enough, he touchstone turns iron into gold. So he went there and he found this stone. He thought, my God, now I'm the richest man in the world. I can be so happy. So then he thought on his way, well, wait a minute, why did he throw it in the garbage? Materially the most valuable thing. And he went back to Sanatana and said, I think you have something more valuable. So another lesson to turn. In our whole lives it taught this lesson of, you could say, renunciation, detachment, letting go. Not only letting go of property, but letting go of our body, our mind, everything. Dedicated. They taught the real, one of the primary teachings of Lord Chaitanya Bandha Krishna Sambandha. What is real renunciation? And they taught that. Utilizing everything in the Lord's service according to the Lord's need. Rupa Goswami especially. But Sanatana Goswami taught this person what is also real renunciation, when we give up this idea that we can be happy by anything other than devotional service. Devotional service doesn't mean that we don't have anything, but it means we don't have the mentality that we have something. We understand that everything belongs to Krishna. Nothing belongs to me. So Sanatana Goswami would utilize the the wealth of this great merchant in building a beautiful temple for the deity. Rupa Goswami did the same. They all did the same. They engaged the wealth of others. They taught others what real renunciation meant. They had their own duty towards Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya, when Sanatana, we don't have time, so I'll just leave it. When Sanatana Goswami met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Varanasi, at that time, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed him, and he particularly instructed him that he should go to Vrindavan, and he gave him 4 specific instructions. Who knows what they were? Excuse me?
Established temples.
Yeah, and that's kind of follows on, establishing the process of worship, which includes temples. Excavate or find. First of all, locate and then establish the places of where Lord Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, which were to a large extent lost at that time. Lord Chaitanya had already discovered or uncovered Radhakund and Shyamakund, but most places were not known. Ramsivat, this one, that one, different places of Lord's pastimes. So that was one of their primary services in Vrindavan, to establish the proper process of devotional service, which specifically included the worship of deities, practically speaking, seva to the Lord. What else? To? Write books. What type of books? Bhakti Shastras. To write the directions, conclusions. Sanatana Goswami particularly was responsible for 3 different levels, you could say, of spirit, bhakti knowledge, bhakti gyan, whatever you call it. And Sambandha Gyan, he particularly established the foundation, the actual truths pertaining to the Supreme Lord, to devotional service, our relationship, and so on. Particularly, he wrote many books in that regard. Who remembers some of those books? They're not exclusive. It doesn't mean that you don't mention anything else, but, they're particularly honed in on it. Excuse me? Hari Bhakti Vilas, particularly, you could say in that regards, which is quite a vast text. It's quite big. He wrote that in collaboration with Gopalbhatta Goswami, who was a very, very learned scholar from South India and fully aware of all the smarter Brahmins, all the caste Goswamis, etc. He knew all the various Vedic directives and statements and so on, and all the rules and regulations of Brahmin society. So it's kind of a blend, and to a large degree, Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj describes that Hari Bhakti Vilas, we have to know where and when to implement it. So it's particularly meant for India, specifically. At the time, particularly when there were lots of smarter Brahmins who were very attached to, Brahminical caste and so on and so forth, birthright and whatever. So he wrote this to establish specifically the authenticity of the Vaishnavas, particularly the Gaudiya Vaishnavas' practices, that they're completely Vedic, yet at the same time they're transcendental. So some aspects of that have to be understood in their true light. It's not to be taken as black and white in every situation. He says it's not appropriate for other places. Maybe in India it's still so. So that's a scripture which needs help. What other scriptures did he write? Bhagavatamrita, probably for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, is the most profound, famous of the literatures which he compiled. And Krishna Stavalila and other literatures, and many commentaries. He did a very amazing commentary on the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. Vaishnav Toshni, one of the commentaries on the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, which maybe you have it here, I don't know. But this way he wrote many scriptures according to the order of the Lord to help practitioners on their path. Rupa Goswami, specifically in the actual practice, nectar of devotion, nectar of instruction, compiled, and on the different Raghunath Das on Prayojana and so on. But together they all compiled these scriptures on Bhakti Shastri, and also to establish the absolute nature of devotional service by, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, by explaining or emphasizing the supreme position of Srimad Bhagavatam as the emperor of all scriptures. That was also part of their task in Vrindavan. So, like that. And our time is over time, so unfortunately we can't go any further. They spent most of their lives in Vrindavan. Sanatana Goswami didn't stay as long as, I think, as the other Goswamis. He was only, maybe, Rupa and Sanatana about the same, only 70, 72 years old, like that. It doesn't matter. As the famous president of America, Abraham Lincoln, said, it's not the years in your life that count, but the life in your years. You can live 10 years, and if you do something really valuable for the world, it's better than 100 years of useless, no good for nothing activity. Do something useful. So they've done the most greatest contribution in society. And they're still present today in their Vani, and maybe in their expansive Vapu forms, deities and pictures and so on. But particularly in their Vani, and their instructions to us, and our whole movement is based upon their instructions. The Prabhupada said they are our Siksha Gurus, real Siksha Gurus. We take shelter of Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and the 6 Goswamis. Hare Krishna. Not to say there's just so much there to read in time. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Today, Bhakti True Maharaj, let us, from the bottom of our hearts, thank him for his wonderful service to Srila Prabhupada and inspiring us all in trying to become totally surrendered, faithful servants of Srila Prabhupada and the 6 Goswamis. And someone or other, Krishna took him away 5 years ago. And for whatever reason, he was a personal servant of Srila Prabhupada in the last year or so of Prabhupada's presence on the planet. And a great devotee of the Lord. Prabhupada gave him sannyas. He gave him first and second initiation at the same time, shortly after he joined the movement. He didn't have to take guru-disciple course, or Bhakti Shastri, or chant pranams for 6 years, or whatever you have to do. Follow regulated principles for 10 lifetimes. Within a few months, he gave him first and second initiation at the same time, and a couple of months later, he gave him sannyas. Fast track. He was a special devotee, so I would say he's not He's not, this is not his first lifetime, you see. This is not his first lifetime. He's already a great devotee. Also a sublime example of humility, eh? So humble. Hare Krishna. So is the plain khichdi ready, or is it all ready for breakfast? Is it breakfast or lunch? Which one? Is it for lunch or breakfast? The plain khichdi. No salt, no nothing.
Lunch and breakfast.
Oh, no, only once. You're only allowed to eat it once a day. You choose which one you want. No, we don't follow that, don't worry. Strict adherence to, they don't eat anything except for plain khichdi for 4 months. Except for the last 4 days. Then they eat cow urine and cow dung, and they have a feast on the last 4 days of cow urine and cow dung. This type of thing's not for us. Radha said he couldn't do those things. So and Bhakti-siddhanta said, don't even bother, just go out there and preach. Just distribute these books and preach. They'd be so pleased to see the distribution of all the books in Bhagavatam. That's one thing. The other thing should be there too. The temple worship, the practice of devotional service, the cultivation of devotion should be there too. Non-envious. Friend to all. As they say, everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. How can you hate anyone? Lord Chaitanya said, how can I hate you? Can't hate anyone. Everyone's pure spirit soul. We hate anyone, it's a reflection of our hatred of Krishna. It means we hate Krishna. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Sanatana Gosvami ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Sodaschand Maharaj ki
I put all the books down and only use one of them. They have to go back to the library or whatever you call it. Someone has the key to the library. Sorry, I didn't really get into it. I hardly went in there at all. Maybe one little step.
no scores for that.